Hello, you beautiful souls! Today I want to show you 5 simple ways to improve your eye drawings. Without much further ado, let's dive right into it. Tip number 1, don't make them stare. Don't draw the iris in the middle surrounded by a whole lot of white. This way, the person you are drawing will look surprised or even scared. If that's what you are going for, great. But if not, just make sure not to show the iris as a full circle. From an anatomical point, we know that an eyeball is a round sphere. Even when the eyes are wide open though, you won't be able to see the whole eyeball. What we actually see is more of an almond-like shape. Of course, eyes come in all different forms and shapes, but for simplicity, let's just stick with this example. You can of course alternate according to your own liking and your own style. The upper and the lower lid overlap the eyeball. It's a simple mechanism really, because if you think about it, it keeps it where it's supposed to be. So most of the time, the eyelids will overlap the iris, at least on the top. A lot of times they will also overlap on the bottom, but that actually varies more from person to person. Maybe you have seen Billie Eilish's eyes. She has more of a white space on the lower part of her eyes. So if you draw it like that, that's totally cool too. But by not drawing the iris as a full circle and at least giving the top lid a little bit of a cutoff, you are avoiding that your eyes are staring like in a horror movie. Going right to point number 2, add a little bit of shadow underneath the upper lash line. As we just said, the upper eyelid overlaps the eyeball. In most cases, when we are talking about a natural scene with natural lighting, the light source will be somewhat from above. Meaning, if something overlaps from the top, it will also cast a downward shadow. So naturally, underneath the upper line of the eye, there will be a little bit of shadow. You don't necessarily have to add a lot of shading to your drawing. If you're just doing some line art, for example, adding a little bit of a thicker line should totally do the trick for you. A mistake a lot of beginners also make when it comes to coloring the eyeball is to paint it white or not at all. In real life, eyes are just not white, even though we call it the white of the eye. Try a very subtle bluish gray or rose gray tone instead. It might take some practice for you to get the tone right, but I promise you the results will be absolutely worth it. Speaking of shadows, number 3, add a highlight. Don't overdo it. 1 or 2 well-placed highlights will do more for you than a whole lot of them. This one can be as white as you can get it. What you want to do here is really max out the contrast. In combination with the subtle shadows that you placed before, it will really make your drawings pop. Especially if you gave the eyeball a very light, different color as well. This one will make a really big difference. And now to my favorite little trick. Number 4, let the eyes move. Don't always let your drawing stare at you from the front. I know I do it too quite a bit. It's just comfortable and convenient, and it can also look pretty badass, but do allow the eyes to wander. Let them look to the sides. This way you're also directing the viewer to look at a certain part of your drawing. Maybe you want to put emphasis on it, maybe you want to highlight something. This way is an easy way to do it. Take this drawing, for example. Where did your attention go in the first moment? To the left or to the right? Probably to the left. She's facing and also looking to the left. Our brains are wired to follow the eyes of others, so we're thinking, oh, what's that there? Only after we've followed that instinct, our eyes start roaming elsewhere. Last but not least, trick number 5. Change the shape of the eyes a tiny little bit. I'm not talking about head turns now. If the eyes of the character that you are drawing are, for example, looking to the right, let the eyelids move with them. Eyes are surrounded by tiny muscles that are vital for the movement of the eye. They, like any other muscle, will contract or loosen with every movement. Give a bit more space in the direction in which your eyes are going, and I promise you, it really doesn't have to be much. It will give you a few bonus points in regards of accuracy though. Alright, so this is 5 things that I keep in mind when drawing eyes. You see, it's really not that difficult, so go ahead and try it yourself. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to see more, click that subscribe button, and that way you get to see more art and you also happen to make me happy. I hope you have a great day and I see you next week. Bye!